I'm Scott Allen Miller. This is the Sheep Guarding Llama vlog for the 8th of September 2021, and I don't often get a chance to actually get out and record in the morning. I'm recording this directly the following morning, and it is a gorgeous, clear, bright, sunny day. It's about 7:30, so this is what town looks like early in the morning. It is not a town that gets up and gets going very quickly, although life does happen early here, right? Food starts getting made, everything opens, people are prepping at 6 and 7 in the morning, but no traffic comes in, right? There's no tourists or anything, obviously, because that means you'd have to get up at 5, get ready, drive in, because you got to come some distance. So there's nobody here first thing in the morning, and people who are visiting are obviously asleep in the hotels. So anytime you come out early in the morning, buenos dias. You are in a very, very sleepy town. So the 7th or the 8th of September, which was, I believe, Tuesday. Wednesday. It was Wednesday. So on Tuesday, we had closed the hotel because our drilling crew was coming. We were prepared for. We knew they were coming. We had the hotel closed ahead of time. We had sent everyone home, given them the day off, more or less. Not everybody, but most people. And we were core drilling so we could get ready for the engineering study. So we knew this as of Saturday, that we were going to have to close yesterday on the 7th, Tuesday. So that was easy. But they didn't get the stuff done, and we kind of knew pretty early in the day they were not going to get things done, so we were prepared and had the place closed today. Yvonne had spoken to them and said, you need to be here at 5 o'clock in the morning, because yesterday they didn't show up until late. They tried not to come at all, then they were late, then when they finally showed up, they didn't get a single hole drilled. They did do stuff, but they didn't get anything drilled. So she said, you better be here at 5 o'clock tomorrow. They said, okay. So 5 o'clock this morning rolls around, and they didn't show up. 6 o'clock, they finally show up, so they're not super late, but an hour late, which is enough to get your ass fired around here. And then they didn't start drilling until after 7. I have no idea how long it takes to set up. Maybe that's legit, but then when she complained about it, they said basically, well, we don't work until 7, so the fact that we showed up at 6 means we were early, and the fact that we said we were coming at 5 is just an irrelevant lie that we told. It has nothing to do with anything. You should be thankful that we came in at all, kind of thing. So she called the architect who hired them and tried to get an explanation as to why they were taking so long and not getting their jobs done. He told her he didn't know who she was and didn't work for her. And so we promptly fired everyone and kicked them out of the hotel. While we were kicking them out, they admitted to Wilbur that they didn't actually bring the correct drilling equipment. We had overheard them say that they were having problems because they ran into rocks. Dominica immediately said, you ran into rocks on the beach, in front of the rocks, in a village called Las Pinitas, the Rocks. How the hell were you not prepared for there to be rocks? Of course there's rocks. Even our taxi driver came over and said, well, this will be a good place to drive the steel down because it's all rocks under there. Everyone in town knows we're built on rocks, right? The entire place is rocks. And the drill team, supposedly the geologist, didn't even bring a rock drilling drill. So they were never going to make it anyway. In the day and a half that they were here, they made it 0 holes. Absolutely, completely ridiculous. So we said, there's Hernan, one of our staff, on his way in, or probably not on his way into work because he had his child, probably taking them to school. And so we said, well, we can't trust an architect who would send out such incompetent people, and what kind of soil sample and study are they going to do? We can't trust that they were even going to get anything. Like, we don't trust anybody at this point, and the price for this all was ridiculous. It's like $5,000 to do a soil study, and our construction guys here are like, yeah, that should be $1,000. So we fired the crew and we fired the architect, and demanding our retainer back. Because they literally didn't do any work. They showed up and wasted time and closed the hotel, so we're telling them we need compensation for the hotel being closed, especially because they were then like, oh, we have to be closed more days, all while they were apparently stalling, hoping someone would bring out an actual drill for them. So the whole thing, completely ridiculous. And they took our shower stone, the thing that protects the beach from our shower, eroding it, and threw it in the ocean because they're just awful. So the whole process is kind of weird now. So our local guys are like, we'll bring in an actual engineer and an actual architect. So they got a guy in within 2 hours of all this. We had an engineer in, and he's like, yeah, we'll have to do a $1,000 soil sample, but only $1,000. And we can do it like in a week or two, because we can't do it. This coming weekend is a holiday, the 14th. So this weekend is when they celebrate, right? Because the 14th is something like the 165th anniversary of the Battle of Sanjak, which La Batalla de San Jacinto, which is the defeat of the American colonial forces just outside Managua. It was the final battle in the war for the freedom of Nicaragua after it became an American colony in the 1850s under William Walker. And then on the 15th, the day immediately following that, is the 200th anniversary of Central America as a place, right? Prior to 200 years ago, Central America was just southern Mexico during colonial times, because under Spain, this region was just all Mexico, just like, Panama and all of northern South America was just Granada, New Granada. And so this region didn't have its own identity. It always had its own culture, but it was southern Mexico. But as of 200 years ago, it became its own place with its own flag and its own identity. And while Central America as a federalist republic only lasted a very short time, the region and culture and history of cooperation between those countries has been around for a very long time. Of the countries that were part of Central America, the northernmost one, Los Altos, half of them decided they wanted to go back to Mexico rather than Central America, and they're now part of Chiapas. And the half of them that wanted to stay were not big enough to have their own country. I mean, they could have, and so were absorbed back into Guatemala, which Guatemala is by far the largest and most powerful of the Central American countries, and is where the original capital had been. So the secondary city in Guatemala, Quetzaltenango, or Xela, is what would have been the capital of Los Altos. It was the major city of Los Altos, and is now the capital of a semi-autonomous region in northwestern Guatemala against the Mexican border. Costa Rica just said to heck with y'all and stopped being an active part of the Central American community. So essentially, of the original 6 countries that made up the Federalist Republic of Central America, 5 of them still exist, except in the form of 4 current countries, Guatemala having 2 of them inside of its borders, and then Costa Rica leaving. So 6 became 5 regions, which is 4 countries, países. So anyway, yes, so our engineer came, and we have some information that he was able to give us. Not all of it is great news, but he can't tell us anything definitive until we have the soil sample. That much we know, and that's obvious. So in about 2 weeks-ish, we're going to drill again and get a feel for what can be supported. But we're pretty sure, based on, especially on the fact that they hit rocks so early, that there's going to be no problem reinforcing the building. And he said there's no problem putting the 2-story rancho in front. Now, we do have to get the mayor's office to approve it, but we don't foresee that being a problem. No one seems to foresee it being a problem. We have good relationships here. We act well in the community. We have connections. We're going to build with local people, create jobs. So getting permission to simply raise our front roof a little bit, probably not a big deal at all. So that part, but he doesn't want to build that until we build a seawall. That's going to make it a bit more expensive. We were hoping it was going to be very cheap and very quick, 1 to 2 weeks of just wood construction. That is not the case. It is going to be a little bit longer. It's going to take quite a bit. He doesn't want to build a wall that we see. He wants us to dig out the beach and put a seawall under the sand so that we have protection in case of massive flooding, that it will hold back sudden sand erosion. So that is the plan. That is a big deal, and we have to figure out when we're going to do that, most likely next summer. Because that's a slow season. Summer in the United States. Next winter here. The plan for the main building, probably we can go up 4 stories. We may be able to simply go to 3 by by shoring up the current building. The current building is terrible and can't hold anything. That is pretty much a given. But we may be able to do a bunch to reinforce it, and it may be able to hold a third floor, and that will be faster and cheaper than going all the way to the full steel frame. We're gonna have to see the price difference to see if that's something we really want to do, because going to the full frame gives us so much, whereas reinforcing what we have doesn't really give us nearly as much, but it does give us enough. And if it saves enough money, well, it may just make sense. And it's faster. The really big deal, though, is that reinforcing the building will take 3 months minimum, might be longer, and building the steel structure will take 4 months, hopefully might be longer, during which time we have to be closed. So that's a problem, right? Now, not that that's surprising, and we certainly knew we had to be closed, but that it takes 4 months to put in the superstructure, that's what we didn't expect. So that means we have to schedule all of this at a time when we don't have people in the building until that's done, because it's not safe, because we're basically changing the foundations, right? So you can't have people in there, because that's when really dangerous things happen. Once that's done, then the actual building of our home and all that stuff happens on top of that, and that can happen while people are in the building or without having to close anyway, and should take about 10 months. That part's not surprising. So that's huge. We've only been here for 4 months. So that's the equivalent of being closed the entire time that we are currently here. You can imagine all the problems that creates in doing that, right? We're going to not have our home. We're going to have to live somewhere else. We're going to have to employ our very large staff for a very long time without any source of income, which is not the end of the world. That sounds worse than it actually is. There is quite a bit of cost to running the hotel that will go away, and the salaries are not the crippling thing that it may seem like. So it won't be good. But and doing it during the slow season, obviously we basically employ them for no people anyway, so it's not dramatically different. But we've spent 4 months now building up a reputation and getting people to start coming and making it part of their routine. By closing for 4 months, we're going to have the problem that the opposite is going to happen. Of course, we can do a lot to say we're doing all this stuff to prepare for much better things and come back when we're open, and it's not like you come and we're closed and you're like, oh, did they go out of business? Nothing like that. It'll be very, very obvious that we're expanding and investing, but we rely on people coming in from León and Managua and visiting the hotel and saying, oh, the food is excellent. Oh, the service is great. Oh, the people are friendly. The view is fantastic. All those things will go away for 4 months, and anyone who comes will go somewhere else, and they will develop their traditions somewhere else. So that's something that we're really worried about, how that's going to impact us from just a trending thing. But at some point we have to do it. So in order to do that, the one thing we cannot do is close between Christmas. Really, American Thanksgiving is kind of when it starts ramping up for Christmas, and Semana Santa, Easter. That period is when all of the money is made. So we have to be open during that time, or we might as well be out of business. Immediately following Semana Santa, the business just tanks because everybody's exhausted from all the months of going out between Christmas and Semana Santa. So that's a big dip. Now, the absolute slowest time of the year, I keep being told, is coming. I'm not sure I believe it. Everyone says that. Everyone's been saying there's going to be such a slow summer, but we have consistent people in the restaurant. So I don't know. Given what we've seen this year, it's our best time to be closed. So basically we would close in May and be closed for May, June, July, and August. Very painful, and then we would reopen when supposedly the very slowest seasons. We would try to be reopened for this coming weekend, which is the holiday weekend again. So we'd be reopening more or less 1 year from today, for example. So we'll have 8 months of prep and 4 months of construction if everything goes as planned. That's really nerve-wracking and upsetting, and that's just 4 months that are going to be really tough. But then we have, in theory, our dream home in our dream location, and it's done. We should never have to do it again. The building is in terrible shape. Either thing that we do should do tons and tons to protect the building. and give us, we're talking about increasing more than 7,000 square feet, not including the restaurant growth. So taking the current building is a little bit, it's probably in the 6,000 square foot range. And we're looking at adding something like 7,000 square feet, plus making some of the stuff that's already there more useful. And so bringing the entire structure up closer to 13,000 square feet, which is a good size. And then the restaurant, I really have a bad, because of the way it's laid out, it's probably in the 400 to 500 square foot range right now. And I say the restaurant, it's only a portion of the restaurant. And it's probably bigger than that, actually. It's probably more like 600 or 700 square feet. It's big enough to seat. I've seen 60 people sat out there eating, right? So, and we're looking at taking that to a full double. So if it's 600, taking that to 1,200. With a much better roof, because right now the roof leaks like terrible, which you've seen in my videos and in pictures. The middle of most of the restaurant just gets soaked because the roof is worthless. Once we have an entire floor and a brand new roof on top, that's gonna be 2 layers of dry, and that should do, hopefully, quite a lot to make the restaurant not just twice as big when the weather is good, but twice as big when the weather is bad, instead of half the size when it's good and 0 when it's bad. That's hopefully. And then the new construction, when that's all done, we're gonna have kind of a VIP lounge on the 4th floor is sort of the idea. And not that we're gonna open that to the public probably ever, but we might, but like private parties and stuff can go on up there. But since a major part of our business is like Alan, and we have an expectation that Anna is probably moving down to the beach, not necessarily like this week, but probably in the relatively foreseeable future. And you know, they will be over pretty much every day. We will want to use either the 2nd floor restaurant or the 4th floor VIP pretty much every day. And so while, you know, we want to have a restaurant that can hold 100 people, having between 5 and 10 people who are able to be there without using up the main restaurant capacity actually still makes a big difference on a day-to-day basis, that we can be just that much busier on any given day. I'm starting to get a little bit of sunlight on the lens here. Yeah, so that was our morning. That was kind of our revelations about stuff going on. It was a very emotional morning and very surprising, but we feel much better about the path. We already know who's going to be building the place, not the superstructure. We need some experts from Leon to do that. It is nothing too special, but we're already starting to deal with the crew who's building the Leon Hospital, which is currently under construction. So the frame is just a really hard thing to do, obviously. So we need specialists for that. But once that's in place, Wilbur and Darwin, who already work for us, have built several of the hotels and many of the houses here in town. Darwin's building a house in town right now, and they pulled us aside and they're like, we can just build this for you. And we're like, what? So we're going to be using all local labor and everything, and we're going to be building a Nika house, a high-end Nika house, a very nice one, we hope. But we're not going to make any attempt at building in a American style or in what is referred to here as Nika Premium or Managua Premium. Managua has its own culture and its own, like, in many ways trying to be the US, and its own suburbs, and a very different thing. You would never see that stuff in Leon or Granada or Chinandega. So we're gonna build much more like a Leon or Chinandega country house than something someone from Managua would be interested in, and certainly not something someone from America would be thinking of as their style. So, and that automatically drop the prices. So when dealing with Managua Premium construction, the numbers that you get quoted are about $500 to $800 per square meter, which is completely reasonable. If you're building an American style house in America, you couldn't do it at that price. Remember, a meter is just shy of 10 square feet. So it's not exactly, it's like 9 2/3, something like that. But it gives you quick math, just divide it by 10 and be like, okay, in the US that'd be really cheap. But actual Nicaragua construction prices for good houses is much more in the $100 to $200 per square meter range. That is a big price difference, just like $5,000 for a soil sample versus $1,000 for a soil sample. We're not talking about shaving 20% off. We're talking about shaving 80% off. So this is going to be, it suddenly makes, once we get past the cost of the steel structure, that we have no idea what it's going to be, but it makes the rest of what we're doing incredibly affordable and realistic, and something we can you know, really start wrapping our brains around in the short term. So that is the status of the construction. We'll know more in about 2 weeks, but we are feeling very relieved that we have Wilbur and Darwin taking over the project and running with that, especially as they're going to be the people who have to maintain it long term anyway, right? So so since we were also closed today, yesterday and today for that, Darwin's crew came in and did a bunch of electrical work that needed to be done. So we've got new ceiling fans in and more lights in, and new the lines run for the emergency generator stuff, because we're moving the generator to the new room that was built. We want that to be able to just be hardwired in all the time. We don't want to have to run extension cords, all that kind of stuff. So just making the things that we have much cleaner and stabler, and we're already seeing, you know, so much improvement to the hotel as we do those things. It's great. So we had a big rain this afternoon. Alan did come over and meet the engineer. That timing was good. We had several hours of heavy rain. We didn't lose power today, which was nice. It didn't even really flicker, but we did have a good solid rain for a long time during the afternoon. We then had a sunny evening, and then at night, Alan was over for dinner, and we were sitting at the table, and some of the most intense close lightning I've ever seen right out on the ocean. Here, I'm gonna walk over a little bit of a view. Not that I can show you anything in specific, but so we were sitting at the table looking straight out at the ocean, and just out about halfway between here and the horizon, so not that far out, we saw 2 major lightning strikes come down in the ocean and hold there for an extraordinary amount of time. And it was like, we kind of looked at each other and like had time to look at each other, look back, and the lightning was still there going, and you could see it kind of like go, whoa, and the thunder hit us instantly. It was nuts. So I had to spend some time hanging out with the dogs for a while because they were obviously scared. That was crazy loud. And then went back, had dinner, came back after Alan went home, and the kids wanted to have a YouTube night. So we watched Fail Army together and just hung out. Dominica joined us when she was done with dinner. And then we went to bed on the early side. Dominica did spend a bit of today playing Dragon Age. She is finally, she's so excited. There's the couch, the dogs climb on top of her, and she's got this 50-inch TV that was mismounted so it doesn't go flush against the wall. So it hangs out quite a bit into the room, which is a problem for walking around the room. I don't exactly like how it looks. You can't push it back without blocking the bathroom door. So that's just screwed up. So it just hangs out, and there's Alex way down the street. I don't know if you can see him, but that's Alex walking his dogs. And so it hangs way out into the room, and but it's perfect when you're sitting on the couch. It kind of leans into you, and it's right there. So even though it's only a 50-inch, right? But I wanted a 55, and we were used to a 60 back in Texas, but they were so much farther away. This is right in your face, so it's pretty good for video gaming. You're like, whoa, it's right there. You can actually see everything, get the details. So that's going to be very enjoyable, and she's loving playing Dragon Age on it, and the couch is very, buenos dias. The couch is very comfortable and nice, she's really happy to have that. She's needed that for months, and the dogs are so excited. Even when she's not there, they're laying on the couch because they're right behind me when I'm working. But when she's video gaming, Clive, it took him like an hour, and then he's like, oh, I remember this. And he just climbs in her lap and is like, you get to hold me all day. And so that is the new thing. Now she has a place to go, and the dogs have a place to go, and it's very handy. It's going to be a problem for me for meetings and stuff because I'm going to have to constantly be kicking her out because she's going to want to hang out there. But it's a good start. Oh, so I was supposed to have a double Spanish lesson this morning. I was all prepped for that, and I started the lesson. I made it in a few minutes, and then I got a customer call that I had to deal with because we were losing a customer and they were really angry from yesterday, and I had to spend an hour on the phone talking them down off the ledge, but then everything was fine. So that it was really important that I skipped the classes, but really annoying that I had to skip my double class that was already a makeup class. So I lost an hour of my Spanish class today. But the Spanish is just coming along great. Like, I feel it happening. So I'm very happy overall with my progress. And, we've moved from, really bare communications to really extensive conversations with people now on a regular basis. I'm able to sit down and participate in things. Like when Wilbur was going to go hang the TV, he didn't say, you know, television wall. He actually just, you know, said things about hanging a screen, not a TV, a screen, pantalla, on the wall. And it didn't even really occur to me that he was speaking Spanish. Like, it was just like, oh yeah, wow, I totally know what you're talking about, and let's do these things. Of course, I didn't know enough Spanish to keep him from hanging in front of the bathroom door, so clearly need a little bit more, but getting there and notice the improvement. But I have Spanish class every day this week, which I'm hoping, I was really looking forward to having a 5-day with an extra to see how much progress I get from that, and now it's going to be 4 days with 1 day off, but can't be helped was very important. Did pick up a new client today, real small one, but hey, these things matter. We've had kind of a rough run for a few weeks where we had you know, a client go out of business. We had a client go, two clients leave us for local providers with far less skill. I mean, and the one, they haven't even transitioned off of us yet. We have no idea. And we asked them, like, okay, so here's all the things we do. Are they prepared to take them over? They didn't even answer. So we're like, are we shutting off your phones on you? Like, I don't understand. We host some of your environment. Are you turning that off? And they don't talk to us. And their IT company doesn't talk to us. I don't know if they failed. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, so, but the client that we just picked up is almost as big as the last one that went out of business. Not quite, but really close, and much more stable. And you know, it's basically going to be a break even there, but a much better. The one that went out of business honestly hasn't paid us for 10 months. So other than racking up bills, it's more of a ideological victory. This one I'm sure is going to pay us, which is great, because instead of theoretically making a little bit more money, we will actually make a little bit less. And so, yeah, it was a decently busy day at work. I did not get any writing done today, but I did, leading up till midnight the night before, get several pages done on the book, and I felt really good about that and making good progress on this next chapter. So fingers crossed that it's going to move quickly. Paul did make it to Managua yesterday, so Paul is in Managua this morning. I'm sorry. Paul left this morning for Managua, but really early, so I never saw him. He left at like 6 o'clock in the morning, traveled to Managua. He had done, yesterday he did his paperwork for travel so that he could go today and get to Managua. And he's staying at Los Robles, so he can be staged by the hotel, do his COVID test, which did come up negative today, and he will be ready to fly out tomorrow morning. He is flying to Panama City. He will be in Panama City, I think, only for an hour or two, and then he is flying on to, I believe, Chicago, and he will be there for about 10 days. We are shipping a whole bunch. We're doing like Amazon shipments and all kinds of stuff out to Chris Newcomb's house, where Paul will be going first before they go on their trip, and then coming back there. So they will have all of our stuff staged so Paul can pack it all up and bring it down here, which is great. We will finally have the first shipment coming down. I am then, hopefully really soon, we're still waiting for the bank to open the bank account. I am hopefully flying north to Houston and dealing with the banking. I have Rachel's wedding coming up in 9 days, so we're cutting it really close for me being able to make it to the wedding. But we've got to have the banking stuff done before I can go up. But if I can make it, I'm going to go to the wedding in Dallas, just because I'm right there. Just run up, do the wedding, run back, get on the plane. But when I go up, the current plan is I'm going to bring 4 suitcases with me, 2 of which will come back with me, and 2 of which will come back with Kat, because Kat wants to come down and visit. Dominica wants to bring her down to visit, so we're gonna pay for her to come down, and she's just coming to visit, so she doesn't need to bring much of anything, so she can bring 2 loaded suitcases down with her. And of course, we're just looking for, you know, soft things. We're looking for more clothing that we didn't get to bring, you know, some shoes, some shorts, some t-shirts, some stuff we'll buy and have shipped. We'll go through the storage unit and pick up anything that we can, maybe some of the kids' stuffed animals, if nothing else, and just bring those down so they have some amount of stuff from home, because there's so many things that we had to leave behind. And obviously we can't bring anything expensive or delicate or really important, but things like stuffed animals will certainly make it down. And so maybe that's what we end up bringing, just to make the kids feel more connected to where they are, and not have this break where it's like we own all these wonderful things that we love and they're all in Texas. I'm sure there's lots of other things I've forgotten. But so it was a very busy day. I pretty much just worked all day and hung out with the dogs and the kids in the evening. Alan did visit a bit today. He's kind of going through an emotional breakthrough on kind of who he wants to be and where he's going in his life, and he had a couple big events happen with things, processes moving forward in his life, and so it was kind of a really big day for him to hang out and talk through things. Oh, the girls today for dinner, Dominica decided she wanted torta de España for dinner, and I'm like, heck yeah, that sounds good to me, so I got that. And then both kids are like, wait, we've heard about this, and mom said we would really like it, so I think we want to try it too. So both of them got it. Liesl really liked it. Luciana absolutely loved it and wants to have 2 of them tomorrow. So yeah, big win in discovering that the food that I've been waiting for all this time, that Marlena makes some of the best I've ever had, is something we can easily do in the restaurant, and the kids love it. Finding any new thing for the kids is such a big deal, so I'm excited about that. Ooh, the ground is very wet here. It's been raining a lot. I was gonna step closer to this really cool dappled light fence area, which this is all abandoned, but I think it looks so cool. Hold on, we're gonna just kind of, woo. It's like a really neat little area here. Anyway, I'm right across from Suyapa, in case you're wondering. This is all of this. This is Suyapa, the big hotel in town, who's right next door to us. You can see us just down the street, right? So that's all the farther I am. So yeah, so it was a very, very big day for us, a lot going on. Melvin gave his official going away email today. He's not actually done until Friday, but that's not very long, right? Just 2 more days, because this is a short week. We have a new guy starting on Monday to replace him. Oh wait, is Melvin going away? I don't even know. Anyway, he sent out the email. Maybe he's here for a week yet. Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. So I don't think there's anything else to tell. I will see all of you tomorrow.